Hello and welcome to this workshop on facing hard things with confidence. Because let's face it, we've all got hard things. Maybe you're thinking about life as, well, this should be fun. This should feel good. This should be everything I've ever wanted. And of course it can be, but hard things are also part of life. So that is really what we're going to investigate. If you're here live, please feel free to use the chat. Please ask me questions or write anything that you want to comment on in the comments. I'll be very happy to answer and comment back. But to get us started, I'm just going to follow what I wanted to tell you. And before I start, can I just say that everything I say here is really said with the deepest love and respect. So if I get on my high horse, which I probably will, because I'm really passionate about this, if I do that, just know that what I'm saying is really coming from a desire to help you, to be of service to you. So keep that in mind. I might remind you, but I'm just saying it here so that that will be clear. First of all, let's just dive in to what you might have tried, and that is stopping you from doing the hard things. You might have wanted to push the hard away. Like, it's normal. Something's really hard. We don't want to do it. So yeah, push it away. It shouldn't be that hard, right? You tell yourself, and you make it wrong. And what I'm going to talk about too is how you make yourself wrong, which is never useful. So you're trying to push the hard away, which won't make it go away because there are hard things in life. Maybe you've tried using what I call toxic positivity, and that's the kind of positivity that glosses over pain or glosses over hard, and that has us deny that hard is part of the equation. So this is what you might have been trying to do, and this is why you might not have been able to do the hard things. And by the hard things, I mean what it is you really want. Perhaps you're meeting a challenge at the moment and you can't quite work out how to meet that challenge head on. So what is stopping you, as we all know, is fear. So that is one of the hards that I think we're trying to push away. But the fear is real. The fear is in the body, and it's real because fear is like hormones coursing through your body. So telling yourself with a good dose of toxic positivity that, oh, it's not really fearful, oh, you don't really feel afraid, or it's going to be okay, and all of that kind of thing is not helpful because the fear will never go away. And I'm pausing a bit here because that's really what I've seen from my own life, that I have always done things with fear. And that is really what I'm encouraging all of my clients to do. And I might talk a little bit about more client breakthroughs with you, because it's really essential that you understand this, that fear will always be there, and that is normal. So if you're on board with that, let me tell you about what you need. Instead of the toxic positivity, instead of pushing fear away, you need to cultivate that something, you can call it self-worth, self-confidence, self-love, self-care. You need a solid self-concept of somebody who can take on hard. And then you also need the commitment. And I find that we're a little bit in a commitment crisis. And I see that in relationships, really. I just invited friends to come along for a party we're having this summer to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. And it was so interesting to see. I sent out the invitations. I got, yes, we're coming back. And then I got a lot, or what I thought was a lot of maybes. Maybe I will come. And that lack of commitment is not just in an invitation and saying, no, I'm not committed to be at a place at a certain time because of whatever. I'm just not committing. And what I'm going to invite you to is to look at, are you really committed? Because if you're committed to something, solving your problem or doing something hard, facing that with confidence, if you are committed, you're going to give it your all. You're not going to do it sort of half-heartedly, right? You're really going to tell yourself, yes, I want this, and I'm not going to talk myself out of it. Like I tried that for many years, and I might mention that again, but it's really just a waste of time. So this is the image I want you to have in mind as I'll be talking. Winter bathing, like when you look at that courageous lady in the ice water. Think about it. She's brave because she's in the ice water. Like she might not be staying there for long. I mean, who cares? But she got herself into that very, very cold water. That is doing a hard thing, I think. So everything that went before can be really drawn out, or it can be really quick. So maybe this lady winter bathes a lot. Maybe she just has the habit of walking up to the hole in the ice and putting herself in there. That is something you can do perhaps with practice, but you really could do it right away, I believe. Yet, some of us would approach this with walking up slowly on the cold ice, like perhaps wrapped up in a lot of warm clothing, right, to protect ourselves, and sort of dipping our toe in there and then thinking, oh, this is too cold. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then run back and not do it. That is okay. Right? We don't have to judge ourselves for that. But we can just notice, well, actually, this is making hard extra hard, isn't it? Because all the preparation, creating the momentum is the thing that is drawn out, that could be really quick, but that we draw out to last for years, like walking up to that hole in the ice, being so cold, dipping our toes, deciding against it, going back, and then coming back the next day or the day after or 10 years later, still dipping our toes. And that is really what coaching can help you do, is to notice when you do that, because doing that won't actually get you into the ice water, will it? There will have to be a change somewhere. So I hope that is clear for you what I mean by that, and that it's a powerful image for you to just connect to as I'm talking. So welcome, Isabella. Welcome, Grace. So good to have you with us. Feel free to use the chat if you want to comment. I shall keep my eye on it. And so right now, I want to talk more about really what's holding us back. And you're free to put into the chat perhaps something hard that you're up against right now, something that you can't bring yourself to do, or something that maybe a challenge you're facing, like a hard situation, what I call a hard circumstance, feeling that hard and being held back by it. Because, well, as you think about that, if you're watching the replay, you're always free to comment in the comment box somewhere here on YouTube, or you can write me an email if that feels better. But as you're thinking about that, I want to invite you to think about somebody who has done what you are contemplating doing, but finding too hard. Can be somebody who found the love of her life. You look at her and you think, well, she's got the love, right? You just see the end result and you don't think about her journey there. You don't think about perhaps her living through rejection. You don't think about her overcoming her timidity or shyness or whatever you want to call it. Maybe she was really afraid to be vulnerable with somebody. And that is what she had to overcome to get to the point where you notice her because she's got what you want. Or it could be somebody who's really slim and you find super attractive and you look at yourself and you think, oh, I don't have that body. All right, for some, she was probably born slim, right? And we just don't imagine that people have had anything to overcome. We just see them as having always been where it is they are. And then we start making ourselves wrong, right? Oh, well, I'm not there. And I just had the most fabulous interview with a woman on Friday. No, yesterday. And she was talking about how, well, she moved to Africa from the Netherlands here in Europe. So she had this dream of living in Africa and she did it. But she said before she did it, she thought that, oh, people who live in Africa, they must be extremely rich, right? Or they must have a job waiting for them, or they must have something that she didn't have. So I think our difficulty in doing the hard thing is seeing ourselves on the other side. And we think, and here's really a nugget I would like for you to think of. We think that once we are on the other side, once we've got what it is we want, like there won't be any problems. So we see that end result as being friction-free, as being there is no resistance, there are no problems, whereas that is never true in life, is it? There will be problems, but the person you have become on the other side is the person who can deal with the problems. The person you are on the other side is the person who doesn't get caught up in what you're getting caught up in now. Makes sense? So when we start imagining that, oh, when I get to the place I want to be, right on the other side of hard, well, that will just be so good, right? The problems will be gone and I'll be living my dream life and all that juiciness. And of course you will. And of course it is good, but there will still be hard. And what I said at the beginning, fear will always be there. So one of the things we do get caught up in, and that's really my first point, is that we make the hard harder than it need be because we make ourselves wrong for feeling the fear or feeling the resistance. I'm currently helping a lot of people with the fear of rejection. And the fear will always be there. So if we can get ourselves on board with the idea that fear is part of the journey, it will always be there. But once you are on the other side of your hard, that fear will just be something you can easily overcome. So in my life, I thought, well, I've been very, very good at doing things with fear, but I used to make myself wrong for feeling the fear. And what has really helped me enormously in my life is to be more accepting of the fear, learning to be with the fear, notice the fear, and not make myself wrong for feeling it. And again, you look at those people who've got what you want, and you don't believe that fear was part of their journey. But if you can start seeing people who've got what you want as also feeling fear, also having been rejected, or whatever it is that you are afraid to experience, if you're okay with that, if you're okay with having that fear be there, well, then what could be stopping you? What is stopping you after the fear, if you're okay with the fear, it's your pain story. So a pain story is something that happened to us in the past. And it could be something like, oh, my parents didn't encourage me to be artistic. Or it could be, I spent 10 years of my life with a narcissist. Or it could be, my boss put me down in my first job, so I don't feel worthy. It could be a traumatic thing, I mean, we don't have to judge it. We don't have to put it in like a hierarchy of what is the worst and what is not important, because we all feel it equally. So we can just notice, oh, what am I carrying with me from the past, this pain story? This something that happened in the past that I keep dragging up here to have a look at. So I have something that happened in the past, like let's say my first marriage was a disaster. I don't ever want to go through that again. Well, if you don't ever want to go through that again, well, you might be telling yourself, I just won't find a new partner. And how good does that feel? It doesn't really, does it? So when we bring on all that evidence from the past of how it was in the past and how that defines us now, well, it is negating that we can evolve. It's really negating that we become somebody else, right? So I find that the people who find it the hardest to change or to do the hard things is that they are so attached to that pain story that has become part of their identity. Often this happens with illness. If you'd suffered from a condition in the past, it might still be there or it might be gone. It's become part of who you are. So you keep bringing that up and you keep reconnecting with it. And then you tell yourself, oh, this is why I can't do what I want. So if you are willing to, instead of say either this or that, either I am who I've been in the past or I become somebody new, if you're willing to say, this is who I was in the past and I'm becoming somebody new, then it becomes a lot easier really to navigate, because we don't need that pain story. We really don't need to drag it along. We don't want to negate it. So here's what using toxic positivity looks like on your pain story. And it goes something like, in my childhood, I wasn't really seen. When you say, oh, but that was okay because I found a lot of friends or whatever. When you try to sort of say, this is not a big deal, you're sort of putting it into a box where it's hidden, where it's no longer in plain sight, because it's just too painful for you because you haven't worked it through. So any attempt at sugarcoating what happened in your past is not helpful. So here we need a little bit of discernment. You have to sort of decide with yourself, well, how much of it can I work through? How much is useful for my identity? And how much do I want to just come to peace with it? How much do I just want to lay it down? And it's really up to you to explore, because it's with me, at least, it's never an all black or all white. That is very rare that we are operating in those extremes. It's normally somewhere in between. So of course you can say, in my childhood, I was never really seen. So now I find it hard to blah, 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 whatever it is you want. So just notice, oh yeah, this is this is where it might come from. But really, it doesn't mean anything about what's coming now. And the more I identify with the pain story, the more resistance I will have to moving forward without it. Because here's what's happening in your brain. When your brain is asked to take something new on, it will always say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Don't need that. We're perfectly fine because we are alive. So I just won't take the upgrade. Thank you. And you'll just carry on business as usual. And that is all well and good if you are feeling good about your life, if you're where you want to be and everything is hunky-dory. But if you want something new, then you really have to take control over your mind. And here's what happens. When you contemplate doing something different or becoming somebody different, you think, oh, I'm feeling fear. And then you make fear mean that you should stop all efforts and drop it because it's dangerous. And of course, we could talk about evolution, but I'm a bit tired of that story. We can just accept that our brain is wired to notice fear and to make fear mean don't do it. So if we want to do something differently, we have to take control over that fearful part of us. We have to come in and say, I feel the fear, I hear you, I've got this. This is where we move into self-confidence, right? But you really first have to come in and grapple with the fear, allow it to be there, but not make it mean anything. It's just fear. And as I said, fear is real. It's not a figment of your imagination, because that figment of imagination has become real because it has become a hormone in your body. So it's there. The more time you spend fighting it, the more you just exhaust yourself. And I find it so sad. I've recently been talking to a few people who've told me, yes, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good, I agree, but do you want that to stop you? And so I see them waiting for it to feel good. But here's the thing, it never will feel good because there will always be some fear. And the more you want to change, the more fear there will be. So we really have to accept that as a human species, we have evolved with this as a protection mechanism. So it will always come in. Always. So it might mean that it's dangerous, but then it might not. And I was just thinking, like, I thought, well, what would be a good illustration of this sort of approach, like with the lady on the ice going into the ice bathing or the winter bathing? I thought that was really a striking example of how we can make it difficult, how we can make like taking baby steps up to the hole, or we can just run our way to the hole, right? There are two approaches and everything in between. So if we get on board with that concept and we just notice with ourselves, well, how is it that I'm not really moving forwards at the pace I could, and what is holding me back? And so I was looking at that for myself, and I quite like to do fearful things because then I learn so much about my own reactions. And when I learn about how I react in fearful situations, then I find that, oh, okay, well, actually, I was built for this. Like, oh, I can take this. Oh, I mean, I don't like prolonged pain. That is not what I'm talking about, but sort of challenging you to do something a little bit scary. And I thought, oh, let me imagine myself winter bathing. And that was before I found the image. And I knew that I come from Denmark. So I knew that in Denmark, you winter bathe by having a hole in the ice and just jumping in. So you can't go halfway, right? You're either in or you're out. And I thought, what would stop me from jumping into that black hole would be if I didn't have a whole fire brigade there ready to haul me out in case I couldn't get out, right? So I wouldn't trust myself to get myself out of that hole. So let me invite you to feel into where it is that you might not be trusting yourself to be built for it. And then I found this image. I saw the image and I thought, oh, well, it doesn't even come up to her waist. She can just walk out again, right? So I thought, oh, that's a different way of seeing it. But I was imagining you either had to be all in or all out. So that was really funny. I thought, oh, I would feel perfectly safe in this case because I would know I could get myself out of there. But I thought, yeah, it's really interesting to see, well, how far do I trust myself? Really? How far? So what we can use to get ourselves to the other side of this hard thing is desire. And I've often used that in my life, and that's how I got myself from northern Denmark to the south of France. It was through desire for something even better. So that is very, very powerful. So, of course, you have to let go of the pain story and you have to cultivate your desire. And an example of that would be this winter. We've got a chalet in the mountains where we go over the winter. And I've always been afraid of driving down that mountain with snow. So in the winter when there's snow, I think, oh, I don't know how to drive a car on the snow and I might slip and all of that. Not so much to damage the car, but to just go over the edge, like, and say, oh, well, that was my life, right? So there would be an element of physical danger, and then there would just be also an element of, I don't know how to do that. So this winter, my friend from Denmark, my childhood friend from Denmark came and visited. And I thought, there is no way we are going to be stuck here with me not being able to drive down this ridiculous mountain. Come on, Katrina, just do it, right? Just do it. And so I did. And of course, I had doubts doing that. I thought, will I be able to take those turns? You know, they're very, very sort of narrow turns and stuff. And I thought, will I be able to do that? How will I, like, if the car slides, will I be able to get it back on track and all of that? And of course I was. I'm still here, right? But I just sort of decided that, okay, well, let me try it out. And what is wrong with me that everybody else can do it and I can't do it? Like, you know, that doesn't really stand to reason. So I challenged myself to do it, and I did it. And I did it several times over the winter. Did I enjoy it? No. Might I get to enjoy it? Perhaps, I don't know. But for the moment, I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. So maybe that's something you can think of. What would you be willing to do and not enjoy it? But knowing that it would get you to where it is you want to be, or would get you to experience what you want to be, or it would solve your problem, what would you be willing to do? And here's another blockage, because really, many people tell me when they come on a consult, they really want something, but they only want it if it's easy. Of course, they don't tell me that, but really what they're saying is, yes, I would so much love to make more money in a different job, but I'm not willing to get uncomfortable. And, well, there you have it. Your desire is not big enough in that case. There just isn't enough desire. And I think it comes from the belief that you can't do it because you can't do hard things. You haven't got enough desire to get you over the hump or over the mountain, as I sometimes think, to the other side of where it is you want to be. You just don't believe that it's possible for somebody like you. So here really is what we can play with is, well, what if it was possible? What would that look like? Am I willing to do the hard thing? And if the answer is no, well, then that's okay. Please don't make yourself wrong. It just means that your desire is not so great, or the fear is greater. Then you've got that information and you can work with that. But if you decide, yeah, actually, I'm really curious. I'm really curious to find out, is this possible for me? So I like to approach life like that. I'm really curious. So lots of you know me really well here. So can I just say that I want to live a cast in France, and That can be fearful, but I'm so curious. Am I the woman who can do it? And when I'm curious about it, I can say, okay, it's an experiment. And if I fail, this is what I will make it mean. Because what really takes us out of the game is when we stop ourselves from doing something because of our failure in doing it will make it mean about us. So let's imagine you want to find a partner in life. You want to feel that intense love where you can be vulnerable and have a relationship that is really deep. If you're unwilling to feel rejection on your way to that relationship, it could be that you mean rejection means something about you that it needn't. So that's one of the first places to go and investigate. I want a partner, but I'm unwilling to go out there and risk rejection. Now, what would I make rejection mean? And here you can start playing with it and say, oh, maybe I make it mean that I'm unacceptable or unlovable or something like that. And then, of course, you don't want to do it. So if you can start changing the meaning and say, oh, I go out there, I meet with rejection, I will make it mean that this wasn't the right person. That feels so much lighter, doesn't it? Oh, it's just that it wasn't the right person. It doesn't mean that I can't do it. It's just my first attempt was met with a rejection. And that was just because, well, I might need to go through many rejections. And this is where I like to toy with myself and my clients. And that is say, would you be willing to feel rejection 10 times if you knew that the 11th meeting would be with the right person? And I find that so interesting that people say yes or no. Well, if they say no, I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't want to do that. Well, then we look at the rejection story. But if they say yes, I would go out and meet with rejection 10 times to get to that 11th time where it would work out. But in life, that is really what we need to do. But we don't know it will be the 11th or the 5th or the 21st. Right? We don't know. What we do know is if we commit, and that was my second point, if you remember, if we commit to finding that person wholeheartedly, if we say, I'm going to keep trying, meeting with rejection 5 times, 10 times, I don't know how many times, you're going to get there, aren't you? You can't fail. So that's how I look at my castle story, my living in a chateau here in France. I keep taking the action as if it was guaranteed. I keep taking the action, I keep taking the action, I keep investigating my own thoughts and feelings. I keep doing the work because I know if I keep doing it, I will get there. I don't know when, but I'm willing to experience whatever is between me right here, right now, and my chateau. I'm in for the whole, all of it. If I fail, like if I'm on my deathbed and I'm still not in my chateau, I will tell myself, you really gave it your all. You left no stone unturned. How can that not feel good? How can I feel regret when I've really tried my all? I don't see that. So I think that this low-key dissatisfaction that many people come to me with, this sort of mild anxiety, this of feeling stuckness, is simply that they're not going all in on life. They're telling themselves, yeah, I would love to find a partner. I would love to earn more money, but I don't want to do the hard thing. So I won't. Or I will keep taking that half-hearted action where I don't go all in and I dip my feet in and say, oh, that's cold. Let me not go there. And then you keep proving to yourself that you can't do it. All the half-hearted action you take in life is just creating evidence for yourself, eroding your self-confidence, eroding your trust in yourself that you can't do it. So I would love some comments on that. I think I'm overwhelming you slightly here, if not massively, but I'd love some comment. You can argue with me, and I'd love to go even deeper if you want to. But yeah, I would love to know what you think about this. So the idea is we've got a marvelous opportunity here to live a life exactly the way we want it, with the relationships we want, with the finances we want, with the ease and flow we desire, feeling good and proud about ourselves. And then it becomes hard. And the only thing between us and what we want is overcoming the hard. So what I did for a long time in my life was that I told myself, it's just not a big deal. You know, just calm down, not a big deal. You're okay. Maybe you recognize that, right? Let me not take myself so seriously. Because if I don't take myself so seriously, then I won't be that disappointed, really. And I think once we start taking our dreams and desires so seriously that we take action on it, then it gets to be really difficult not to be disappointed if it doesn't happen, right? So Emily says, one of my thoughts is, I would rather regret the thing I did. Yes. No, my chateau is not haunted. Yes. So that's already a very brave thing to tell yourself, that you would rather regret the thing you did than not doing it, regret not having attempted it, right? And I'm a bit the same. So in the small things as in the big things. But think about really the small things in the everyday little things, like, because that's what we work with, isn't it? It's not every day we've got the opportunity to buy a chateau or to skydive or to winter bathe, right? It's more about, in real life, the little things. And then noticing how it is that we are really refusing the hard. Let's say you were looking to lose weight. I can say that because everybody here is a perfectly wonderful weight. So if you wanted to lose 50 pounds, but you really didn't want to change how you ate and you didn't really want to exercise because it was hard, well, then it'd be very difficult to lose weight. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying you're making it very hard for yourself. So what the hard would entail is to notice in your everyday actions where it is that you sell yourself short, where you come up against the hard and then buckle. So weight loss is a really good way of making that clear. It is, you are confronted with being hungry. You've got the choice of what you eat and how much you eat. And then you take the easy option. That is noticing it in daily life. Taking the easy options of eating what you always eat that will keep creating the overweight, right? It is noticing when you're sitting on the sofa and you signed up for the gym, but you're feeling tired, so you don't go. Just noticing that to start off with. Oh, right here, I'm up against hard, because it is hard to get out of your sofa and into the gym, isn't it? It is hard. Let's not deny that. Yeah, Jennifer says it sounds like continuing to dip a toe in with a little commitment is actually harder than going all in. Yeah, full commitment. Exactly. You sum it up beautifully, Jennifer. Beautifully. It is much harder. And if you're on my newsletter list, I sent out an email some time ago with where I talked about the two kinds of hard. And one kind of hard is dipping in your toe in that ice water and keeping dipping it and telling yourself, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Getting used to seeing yourself as somebody who can't do what they want. That is really, really hard. So hard. Demoralizingly hard. I think it gets you into illness, like physical illness. And I think you end up with a very, very small life that feels very, very anxiety provoking because you just don't trust yourself. And the other kind of hard is jumping into that ice water, trusting that you can handle it, trusting that you were built for it, trusting that you will be okay. And I can't always trust myself, but I'm willing to be curious. So that's how I sort of get around it. That is how, when I haven't got really quite the confidence to do something, I just tell myself, okay, let me get curious. Let me see if I can do it. And before I try doing it, I make sure of what I'll make it mean in case I fail. So that is a little bit of a preliminary thing to do. What will I make it mean in case I fail? So make it mean something, not about who you are, but you can make it mean something about outside circumstances or something about something you did or didn't do. So I find that a lot of people create a lot of evidence for how they can't lose weight. Don't you? Don't you know a lot of people who tell themselves, yeah, I've tried everything, I just can't lose weight. And that, of course, can never be true, can it? It just means they've been taking too little action, or as Jennifer says it so beautifully, little commitment makes it harder because you don't get the results. So you keep proving to yourself you can't do it, whereas a full commitment and a willingness to do the hard thing will get you the results. So it's like always finding something in the last place you look because you found it. I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe I'm being, well, I don't know. But feel free to expand if you want, Emily. So really what I'm saying is that we can do hard things. The confidence piece is something we have to, I think, decide. And as I said, I use curiosity to get around it when I can't quite feel confident. Like going down that mountain in a car with ordinary tires on the snow. I wasn't fully trusting myself to be able to do it, but I was willing to be curious because I think self-confidence is trusting yourself to be able to feel all feelings. And I think that's a really good thing to think about. If I was willing to feel anything and not have it define me, not make it mean anything that I don't want to make it mean, if I was willing to do that, well, what could possibly go wrong? If I was willing to feel failure, if I was willing to feel rejection, if I was willing to feel fear, if I was willing to feel embarrassment, if I was willing to feel all of that without making it a problem, well, then what could really stop us? And I'm not inviting you to go out and jump out of an airplane without a parachute, right? I'm not talking about physical danger. But really, we can do so many things. We really were built for it. The reason we started doubting it is because when we were little, our parents told us, yeah, be careful, you might hurt yourself, and all that, like overprotect. That made us a little bit fragile. But when we are willing to challenge that and perhaps approach things with curiosity, it's possible. And that's really what I want you to take away. I mentioned self-care. I mentioned how nurturing your self-worth and self-care is really important, because I think unless we feel worthy, we don't think we're worth the effort really of doing the hard. So depending on where you're at in your journey, I would start with the self-love. And that means really caring for yourself, really nurturing who you are, and not make yourself wrong for any parts of who you are. So I talk a lot about being at my best, and I love myself at my best, and I can have compassion for myself when I'm not, right? Because we will never be perfect. So it's so human to feel the fear. Let's not reject that part of us. It's so human to fail sometimes. Let not reject that part of it, of us, right? Let's embrace all of it. Have compassion for what we really don't sort of approve of what we want to change. Let's just have a lot of compassion for that. And then let's nurture really what we do love. And I love the version of me who's not sitting on the sofa saying, I'm too tired. I love the version of me who's out there engaging, doing some really hard things and enjoying it and enjoying the person I'm becoming, that version of me, that expanded version. So I'm just looking at my notes. Is there something I've forgotten? Yeah, I think I've sort of almost said everything. So I'd love to know if there's anything that's coming up for you. If you don't want to share it here, I would love to invite you to a consultation with me. And that is where we go into what hard looks like in your life. And I'm just posting a link in the chat to the booking link. You can just go to the booking link and find a time. I would love to meet up with you. So this is to find where the hard is in your life, the hard you find it difficult to surmount, to overcome. So we can tailor make really some action steps for you. I'll be able to tell you, well, what could be stopping you, and then you could be looking at ways of overcoming it. And so the advantage of that is that instead of thinking, oh, this is dangerous, I can't do it, you'll be thinking, oh, this feels really dangerous. I wonder what that's about. And then doing it anyway. Doing it with the fear. Doing it with the fear of feeling embarrassed, with the fear of being rejected, with whatever it is. Right? We can do hard things. So I would really invite you to come on a consultation. You are not taking up too much of my time. I'm more than happy to spend that time with you to find out how it is you could move forward with the fear so that you get to do the hard things that are just right in between where you are now and where you want to be. Yes, you are welcome, Jennifer, as do I, right? And that's exactly what the work is. It's really coming to terms with being the person who does the hard thing. It's really seeing who she is. Who is that woman who does the hard thing? You might have been resisting it for 10 years, for your entire life. It really doesn't matter. It's about making the decision that, okay, now I'm sort of committed to this. I'm going all in. It might be difficult because doing hard things is difficult. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not pretend it's easy because it's not. And let's not make it a reason not to do something because it's hard. Let's just see that, oh, maybe I can do hard things. And of course, it's easier to do the hard things when you've got somebody supporting you, right? So please feel free to reach out to me or to somebody else. So, of course, your friends are precious too, but I find that friends really don't want to contradict you too much. Like they're there to support you, which is gorgeous too, of course. But they're not really meant to be pushing you to the edge, right? They're not really meant to be critical or investigative. Sorry, I'm having difficulties with that. Sort of challenging what you say, because sometimes we say things and we think it's a fact, and we're not really onto ourselves about it's not a fact. It's really just an idea, a belief I've got. That's really not true. So we can't see that for ourselves. And our friends, I think, are sometimes hesitant to point it out. And there's also this very human thing that it feels good to complain, doesn't it? That feels really good. And there is some relief in it. You can feel good. Oh, I got it off my chest. And there's so much value in that, but we don't want to stay there. And we really can't trust our friends to move us out of there. So it's really good to have a support partner. Could be somebody who's doing what you want to be doing, somebody who's faced with the same hard that you are. Could be somebody like that, or it could be a professional like me. Emily says friends are very agreeable. Yeah, exactly. Versus let's look at that. Yes, let's investigate. And so, of course, it can sound really harsh to say that we are holding ourselves back, but we really are. And if we don't make that into something dreadful, if we just look at it as, oh, that's a human condition, like I really am creating my own problems. And if we're willing then to look at, oh, this is a pain story I keep dragging with me, and actually I can just let go of that pain story. And if you remember, the pain story is what we think happened in the past that prevents us from being or having what we want today. So if we're willing to let that go and prove to ourselves we can do it anyway, well, that really means we could have done that 20 years ago, right? It really means that we could have done that a long time ago. And we've been invested in keeping that story alive. And where did we do that? And then we make ourselves wrong, right? We make ourselves wrong for feeling the fear. We make ourselves wrong for not having taken different actions in the past. And what I find very, very helpful to think about is that at the time, we didn't know any better. Right? We did our best at the time with the knowledge and the tools we had. So, in closing, let me just say that you have got some information here, and that is wonderful, but it is only information. Your transformation lies in the implementation of this information. So now you really have to take action on this. You really have to dive in and look at, what am I making hard? What am I making it mean? And how am I limiting myself to this? Yeah, lovely, Denise. Please take it out into your own life, and please get the help you need. I would love to show you how you could do it. I would love to meet up with you. I would love to really go a little bit deeper into how this shows up in your life, and then what to do about it, right? Have that plan in place so that you're sitting there spinning, thinking, oh, I don't know how to, because that I don't know is just keeping you safe. And the thing is, you will never know till you've done it. You will never know how to solve a problem till you have solved it. That can only be guesswork, but we really have to get you started. So everything I've been saying with the utmost love and respect. I'm including myself in my own, in my own remedy. I have to take my own medicine every day. I still find some things hard and I still want to do them. I've made fear just part of it. It's okay. I can do fear. I can do embarrassment. I can do rejection. No problem. Bring it on. Bring it on. Because I know the quicker I get through all of that, the quicker I'll get to my chateau or any of the other things I really want in life. So I love talking to you. I think I've overwhelmed you a bit, but that's okay. You can think about this. There will be a replay. And I would love to hear from you, either on a consultation, I call them a life audit session, or by you sending me an email or commenting in the comment box. So thank you for listening. I enjoyed speaking with you immensely. See you next time. You are welcome. You're welcome.